Good evening and welcome to Open Your Mind Internet Radio. You have myself, Alan James.
And you have myself, Stephen George. Both in the 7th or 5th dimension, wherever we are.
Don't we wish?
Yeah.
Sunday the 23rd of December 2012. And as we said last week, we said if anything happens, good luck and all the best to you. And if not, we'll be back next week. And here we are, back next week as promised.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. Now we have our guests on tonight. We have Karen Quinn-Tostado from United We Strike. We have JP from WSR Radio and Detlev from Wake News Radio going to be on in a few minutes. And we're going to be talking, we're going to have a little bit of a round table. And we're going to be talking about the 21st and 22nd and the 23rd. And if anything has happened or if anybody has found out anything. I don't think so. I haven't heard any news myself. Have you?
No, I'm afraid not. I haven't heard anything at all. Seemingly it was like a big build-up to nothing. Yeah,
just a kind of another fear-mongering. Now, we're not saying that nothing's going to happen. It just didn't happen on this weekend. But we're going to be talking more about that with Karen and JP and Detlev in a few minutes.
Do you reckon maybe when the mines, when their calendar ran out on the 21st, maybe someone said, "Oh yeah, let's just freak some people out in a couple of 1,000 years or whatever." That's really gonna, it's gonna really freak someone out. And then maybe they said, no, hang on a second, you can't have the world end before Christmas. No. Maybe after Christmas. So the 26th of December, we're all doomed and gloomed.
No, what happened was he was working on the calendar. And just as he got to the 21st, his mate said, "Look, will you leave that and come out for a drink?"
We finished that after Christmas.
And he never did. It's probably something.
That's what it was. The Mayans got their Christmas break on the 21st.
That's exactly it. Yeah. I tell you, it's probably something like that anyway. Apparently, the Bargain Basement shop down the road is selling second-hand Mayan calendars very cheap. Right, okay. Last week, we'd like to apologise. I did say that the TD's name was Mick Flanagan when it should have been Ming Flanagan. But I'm sure you knew who I was talking about when I was talking about Ming Flanagan and what happened to him. So, just to clarify that, I don't have really much on the list, but how's your week, Steve?
Busy, looking after, running the household, playing mammy, and changing nappies. I don't know what that noise was. That you made?
No, that was the microphone sound. Okay. It wasn't me.
Just kind of catching up on a couple of the links that you've sent out. Although you didn't send too many out this week. I had a chat with my father there as well last night for about an hour. He's very disillusioned with the whole thing, the way the world is gone, and the politicians, the way they're, what they're doing and what they're proposing to do. He's kind of disillusioned, so we had a good chat for about an hour there last night. Other than that, it's been kind of just catching up and playing daddy and, nursemaid. That's pretty much it, I'm afraid to say.
And getting ready for Christmas.
Well, I was kind of getting ready for Christmas, but I was also getting ready for the 24th, where I was fully prepared. I had me suitcase packed. The suitcase was packed, ready to go to the next dimension, and just never happened.
Never happened.
That bus, that train, that plane never arrived.
I think he's going to go back to what we talked about, that maybe in 30 years' time our kids will turn around and go, "Dad, with the fighting that you did 30 years ago to kind of free the people, it's beginning to happen."
And we'll be going, "Okay, Sonny."
Okay. Heart attack.
Yeah.
And then that's it. Okay.
How was your week?
Just a couple of things for people that are interested. If you go over to the Communications Regulator website, which is comreg.ie, I believe, and you click on a link called Site Viewer, this will show you all the telephone masts and the locations and the providers all around the country. So I did this, and I found that the local mast that's literally about 300 yards away from my house is Vodafone. And I believe there's a couple down your way. There's about 2 or 3 down your way.
That's right.
And they're mixed as well.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to go and find out if there's a mast, locally, and who the provider is, then obviously if you go over to comreg.ie and click on a link or a software on there called Site Viewer, it'll actually tell you where the telephone masts are.
Of course, some people are probably going, what's the point of that? Well, the point of that is because some of them are out in public view where you can actually see them on top of masts and towers. Other ones are kind of hidden. Like there's a shopping centre not too far away from us here, and there's actually 1 or 2 concealed in the lift shaft. So there, I think planning permission wouldn't be given to have them actually on the roof of the shopping centre. So they were concealed in the lift shaft. And also around where my father is, there's a local football club, and they have the goalposts. And around the goalposts, they have like these floodlights, and they wanted to put up a mast there as well. Planning permission couldn't be given, so they concealed them in the floodlights.
Ah,
yeah,
there you
crafty
go.
beggars.
Crafty, very crafty. We'd just like to send out our condolences to the McAtee family. Shane McAtee, a politician TD, we believe, we've been told, committed suicide during the week, and he leaves behind, I think, 3 or 4 children. Now, he's a Fine Gael TD, and I know we have certain attitudes towards TDs and everything else, but, you know, having to have somebody commit suicide is not a nice thing, especially before Christmas with 3 or 4 kids. So we send our condolences out to his family, to the McAtee family. Just like to kind of get that in there. The one last thing before we bring in our guests is that if you're listening to us now at the moment, well done. We are on the UWS stream at the moment and TNS stream. Unfortunately, our own stream, the provider of our own stream, has problems. They're having technical difficulties, so we had to switch over to the UWS stream, and we're on the TNS stream as well. For the people who can't hear us, because we're probably thinking, sorry about that, but we will have the podcast available, and you will be able to hear the show later on tonight, if not in the morning. So that will be all sorted.
But your words are falling on deaf ears there, because obviously the people who can't hear us can't hear us.
No, but they'll pick up the podcast. They know the podcast is normally available.
They will.
Right, okay, without further ado, we're going to bring in our guests tonight. Oh, hang on. Yes.
If anyone would like to contact us
sorry.
during the show at any time.
Just because of we had mass panic about 10 minutes before we got into live.
Sorry,
Steve.
Yeah, if anyone wants to give us a shout during the show, info@OYM-Ireland.com. We also have the guest book on the website, and we also have the chat facility on the website as well. There are several people already logged in, and if you want to ask any questions to our special guests this evening, that is the place to do that on the chat box, because they're all logged in there. Or failing that, if you want to give us a shout on the landline, you can
give us a call on 046 927 1212.
046 927 1212. If you're ringing in from outside the Republic of Ireland or from another dimension in another galaxy far, far away, 00353 in front of that. Alan.
Right, okay, now we might have 1 or 2 Skype issues. We have 3 people on Skype, and our experiment before having 3 people on didn't go very well, so we'll see how we get on anyway. Good evening, ladies and gents. How are you doing? Karen, you there?
Oh, I'm still here.
You're still there?
Third dimension.
Brilliant. Okay, well, not brilliant. I'd like to be in the 5th dimension. JP, good evening.
Yes, hi.
Hi, that's Detlev. Good evening.
Yeah. Hi, Alan. Hi, Steve. How are you in Ireland? Well, I'm in the 7th dimension over here in Switzerland. It's a little higher now.
Excellent. Excellent. And JP, are you there?
Jeremy's up in the 5th dimension at the moment. He'll be back soon, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, tell him we said hello.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Oh, here I am.
There you go.
There you go.
He's beamed down.
He's beamed down from the 7th dimension just to be on the show. Well done. Well, what can I say, guys? We had myself, Karen, and Detlev and Steve. We had a show on Friday about 1 a.m. in the morning, and we wanted to talk about the 21st, and during the day of the 21st of Friday, we all checked with each other, and we have heard nothing, didn't see anything happening. I mean, I didn't expect the end of the world or even Project Bluebeam, but even some Aurora Borealis or something would have been nice. But we are now on Sunday the 23rd, and the only thing we had last night, Steve, is severe wind outside and gales.
Yeah, very windy.
Very windy.
Very windy.
So that's what we had over here. The weather conditions were quite bad. Karen, I'll go off to you first. Good evening, and any news from your end?
Well, it looks pretty much the same right here. I do feel like I'm in the 3rd dimension. I have to say that I am somewhat relieved and a little bit disappointed as well. I would love to believe that right now that the frequencies are at least changing or have changed so that it will be easier for us to wake up that's more JP's expertise, so I'll have to find out what he's found out. But for me right here, it means simply that it's time to stop thinking that our dad, Santa Claus, the Galactic Federation, Tolek, although he might be around next year when we do turn into the fifth dimension, but that's not until January. So I think it's up to us, Alan. I think it's really up to us, and I feel more rooted and more grounded in the fact of being solidly here on planet Earth.
Yeah, I know what you mean. JP, good evening. What's your take on things?
What's my take on things? Well, there's a certain amount of relief that actually nothing has happened, because all the things that everybody was fearing were pretty nasty things that we didn't really want to have happen anyway. So I'm quite happy about that. So I've survived the Millennium Bug, and we've survived quite a lot so far. I mean, if you really look at it, compared, if we'd have been thinking forward from like 15 years ago, we could not really have envisioned the world that we live in now. We've got some kind of planetary expansion going on. There's earthquakes happening all over the place. Volcanoes are erupting all over the place. We've got stock market crashes every week, and it's getting worse and worse. We've got scandals coming out. We've got everybody in the government seems to be a paedophile, and it's just there is mayhem and chaos. So a lot of these prophecies that we've seen all over, this is the end of the world. Is this how the world ends? I don't know. We're waiting for the whimper, aren't we?
I don't know. Let's pop over to Switzerland and see what's happened over there. Good evening, Detlev. How are you?
Hi, Alan. Hi, Steve. Hi, everybody else. Well, we've got pretty warm weather, as a matter of fact, which is pretty unusual for this period of time. And I was working the whole weekend, so not really a change. And you see, I'm working on a film which I want to get out on Christmas, to give some of those who put pressure on us a little task to do. And so from my point of view, I actually didn't really expect anything happening in terms of external influence, like, world going under, or any UFO flying down, an alien coming out and saying hello, or something like that. I think what will happen, and what actually has happened already, is changes inside ourselves. And I can feel it, and many more people do feel this as well. What do you think?
Well, I don't know about the energy change. I know they talked about it, this wave coming in. David Wilcox talked about it in the 2012 Enigma. And he said with this wave coming in, it's going to reactivate DNA that was lying dormant in us, which will, give us, I won't say superpowers, but it'll activate and we'll be able to do things that we couldn't normally do. Clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, and all that kind of stuff. Now, whether this is going to happen or... Again, I've just become now everything that over the last few months we had the Niraboo thing, we had and different dates with that, and we had different dates with the 11th of the 11th of the 11th and the 12th of the 12th and the 3rd of the 12th, and all these predictions and people talking about stuff, and nothing has happened. So I've just become one of the biggest skeptics around, I think, because now if anybody says anything to me, I'll just go, yeah, right, okay, let's see what happens. And that's it. And maybe that's part of the psychology of the Illuminati or the Cabal, because it's order or chaos, which is on the dollar bill in Latin. So maybe that's the case. What do you think, Karen?
Yeah, I am more skeptical too. I'll tell you, my husband Al is reveling in his righteousness. He's been telling me for a very long time, what will you do when the 21st comes? And nothing happens. So, now the one thing that I cannot say is whether or not we really are in a galactic alignment and the vibrations are shifting so that we're waking up. We don't consciously choose to move from adolescence to adulthood. It's just something that happens. Are we having an upgrade? That would be very cool. But it's not going to happen overnight, and it's not going to happen without our direct participation. And I think that it's really time to wake up and understand that we are the heroes we've been waiting for. We cannot continue to give our power away, to think that some new CD, or if it's not Nibiru, it's the cross of Hyundai or whatever is coming to save us. I think it's time for us to consciously look at what's going on out there, and it's why I keep coming back to when we finally allow ourselves to stop at the same time, to refuse to allow ourselves to be pushed over this fiscal cliff and this other bull crap that they're spreading, when we finally say, you know what, nothing happened, the ball didn't drop, maybe Jesus was a religious and political fiction for Vespasian. I don't know. There's so many things we don't know, but what we do know is every single day we live our lives as usual is another day. That more people die in war, more people die because of starving, more people are tased or threatened or silenced or imprisoned or jailed for the very few who sit at the top and smoke cigars and bet on the weather. And I think that a strike and peaceful noncompliance still makes the most sense to me to get their attention. And so I'll keep planting seeds for us to do that and collectively do it on the same day. If we all stopped, that would stop the world, and then we can see where we go from there.
Excellent. JP, what's your take on things now with, I mean, the fact that we didn't have the end of the world scenario or Project Bluebeam or whatever, I mean, nothing. As I said, I would be happy with just some kind of Aurora Borealis effect or something, just to, see something. But nothing from what I can see has happened. And so what's your plans now for the future?
As far as I'm concerned, I'm going through a rebirth phase, a renewal phase. I'm coming out of a long period of poverty and I'm sort of right at the end of that. I'm right at the bottom of the poverty, so it can't go any worse. So I've got a new house, and I'm going to be moving in on the 1st of January, and it's a nice, sweet little cottage that can go off the grid. And for me, that's what it's about. It's about doing what I want to do, doing what is in my heart. Because I got loads of ideas and loads of projects, loads of things that I want to do. Free energy ideas and crystal devices and all these things. So for me personally, it marks a moment when everything, all the stresses finish, because it's bugger this for a game of soldiers, really. I'm just going to go over as much as I can into doing things that are of service to the world and that make me happy. And really, that's I think that's all that anyone can do.
Yeah, I think so. I think we can't be waiting on something to happen. I think we have to do it ourselves. I think everybody's going to have to do it themselves, as we have been doing. We're just going to carry on continuing. I do believe that more and more people are going to wake up because of the way the situation is. What I hope is not the prediction. I know Alan Watt has very good information, but I tend to get, in the documentaries and the interviews that I've seen with Alan, it tend to be negative and very little positive solutions coming out. So I just hope that this is not all something that has been played and it's all pre-planned the way things are going. But I'll put it over to Detlev. Detlev, what are you planning now with the new year and, with Wake News?
Yeah, thanks, Alan. Well, as a matter of fact, first of all, I posted this in the chat room, the year 2116. This was not just out of my mind or something. I actually read a story about two German scientists who recently came out with the information that they recalculated the Mayan calendar so far as they could. And they said there is a miscalculation done, and the real date of ending of this time cycle will be 2116. So, well, I don't know whether this is true. So, but it gives us another 100 years and more, to think about it. This is something I fear, because, distraction strategies are the ones, as well as fear strategies, to keep us away from finding the truth or being interested in finding the truth. And that's what's taking place all the time, and that's what I'm reporting on as well with Wake News Radio and Wake News TV, where I make my own videos as well. And I think this is going to be even more important, especially as the continent here, the European continent. I'm in Basel, and Basel is close next door, basically, to the Federal Republic of Germany and France. So it's actually, if I want to go have some great cheese, 10 minutes I get the best cheese in France. And if I want to get a real German beer, I jump in the car 10 minutes and I get the best German beer. And if I want to go hiking, I'm in Switzerland, so I don't have to drive anywhere. See, that's my advantage here in the three corners of three countries, or the corner of three countries. So, things are happening over here, and we are reporting on it. And I think, getting to the truth is our most important objective, and also, try to get the people to discover their own consciousness. That's what I'm focusing on.
Well, maybe this wave that is predicted, maybe it's still on its way to the Earth, and maybe that's going to cause this consciousness to awaken our consciousness. But what I said on Friday, and I think we have to be aware of this, is that the kill shot effect is still a possibility. Now, the kill shot, as I said on Friday, is got to do with the solar mass ejection from the sun, and this 11-year cycle, give or take a year, happens, and they know this in science. And depending on what way the Earth is going to be facing the sun, if this happens, will actually knock out the grid and a lot of electronic equipment. Now, the last time this happened was 1859, and they called it the Carrington effect. So if this Carrington effect happens again, we're literally going to be sent back to the Stone Age, depending on where the Earth is pointing at the sun, what country, or what part of the Earth is pointing at the sun. Steve, we've talked about this as well, haven't we, about this 11-year cycle?
Yeah, we have. I mean, when you say this Carrington effect, it happened back in the 1800s. I mean, if it were to happen again, I don't think, personally speaking, it will send us back to the Stone Age. I mean, it would certainly set us back. It would obviously, dare I say it, be kind of welcome in a way. Now, obviously, there's a lot of ways in which it wouldn't be welcome, but when you think about it, most people are being programmed, and this is also part of the conversation I had with my father last night. Most of the people are kept programmed, they're kind of kept hypnotized, if you like, with media, with TV and newspapers, and the BS that they're kind of churning out and passing off as news. If this kill shot thing were to happen, then I'm guessing all the communication satellites will be knocked out, so therefore we wouldn't be watching Sky TV or satellite TV. We probably we definitely wouldn't be watching terrestrial TV. In fact, we wouldn't even be reading the newspaper. And the most people, and the most people could actually do would be, they'd have whatever food they have. They would have to use that. They would be living by candlelight, and we would have to get to know our neighbours, because you know as well as I do. You even in a small village, you can know some of your neighbours, but chances are you don't know all of your neighbours. And if this were to happen, and the whole world is just plunged into this, no electricity, no media, no TV, no newspaper, it's amazing, in times of crisis like that, how quickly the human race would kind of maybe evolve. Because when you think about it, we're in my opinion, we're being kept on an even keel at the moment with the media and all this. We're being kept or suppressed or oppressed, whatever you want to call it. But when all this veil is lifted and we have no TV, no electronic gadgets to distract, no distraction. There we go, no distraction. And it's amazing, you find yourself, oh Jesus, we're going hungry, what are we going to do? It's amazing how quickly people will kind of plant seeds.
And they'll probably talk to each other.
And talk to each other.
Neighbours might talk to each other.
And come up with, solutions. Everything will be, well, how can we do this? And instead of having one or two people, trying to figure something out, you probably have a community, a village, trying to figure how are we going to do something. And I think it could be a positive thing if that veil of oppression that is kind of cast upon us by the media is lifted, and people can actually, for the first time in God knows how many years, think for themselves instead of being told how to think and what to think.
Exactly. And JP, Detlev, do you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, I'm actually just watching a video on the Andean anomaly. And if you can see all the sites which have been built there, possibly up to 20,000 years ago, because, the story which the archaeologists are telling us is definitely not true. There has been times where people actually were able to manufacture things which are still unbelievable to us, right? And they didn't need a machine like we do have it, like drilling machines or things like that, or cargo lifters and so forth, because those stones couldn't even be handled today by most modern technology. So there must have been something around on Earth some time ago, and maybe this is coming up again someday. What do you think, JP?
Mastery of light and sound and vibration will bring us all kinds of miracles that we thought were, literally science fiction. But it's all about frequency. You find the resonant frequency of a piece of rock, and you happen to be on an Earth vortex point, and you can move that rock as if you were just pushing a piece of candy puff, candy floss. It's definitely possible. This fellow called Edward Leedskalnin, I think that's how you pronounce his name. Do excuse the background sounds. My housemate's making dinner. Ed Leedskalnin was able to carve coral. It's called the Coral Castle, and it's in Florida somewhere. And it's on a vortex point, and they've found bits of his machinery, but he broke it up. And but it mainly involves coils and oscillators and things like that. And he could levitate rocks and managed even to balance this rock that you could push with your finger. It was like a revolving door, and you could push with your finger. It weighed about 15 tons.
Wow!
Just incredible. And he did it with sound. It's also been recorded about Tibetans. That's how they get rocks up the mountain. They basically start with this very long, slow pulse. They have all the drums and it starts off very, very slowly, like one beat a minute. And it eventually, speeds up and speeds up and speeds up, because they must have a drummer. It speeds up and speeds up, and eventually it's like vroom, 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 and the rock will then start lifting off the ground and going up the side of the hill. This has been documented. They know how to do this. So that's how they've been doing it for a very, very long time. We also know that we can heal and rebuild things using sound. Sound creates form. It's called kymatics. Light can heal you. You can find the right frequency of ultraviolet light. I think it's 315 nanometers, and you can heal your DNA with it. It's like an ultraviolet light. There's a frequency of light 660 nanometers, which you can use as acupuncture. You put this thing and your whole body lights up. It feeds your cells and all sorts of things. You can regrow hair. There's all sorts of things, and it's simple mastery of vibration and realizing that vibration is really, really, really important. It it is what it is. It is the thing that is the word. It's the vibration is where it's at. It's the basis of all our reality. The hologram that we live in is a bunch of vibrations forming standing waves. So they say.
It's I know that chap in Florida. He died with the secret. He didn't actually reveal the secret, I believe.
That's right.
Now, the one thing I want to kind of touch base on with it, I'll put it out to the three of you as well, is this, because nothing happened this weekend doesn't mean that nothing's going to happen. So we still have the idea of what Tolak says and what people are talking about the ascension. And according to, for people who don't know Tolak, well, JP, I suppose you could actually explain who Tolak is, because you had him on your show. So can you just give us a quick heads up on who Tolak is?
Sure thing. And I'd also like to welcome all the Wolf Spirit Radio listeners. We just connected with the stream. I'll be connecting in with the chat room there. So you can now hear this show on OYM Ireland, on TNS Radio, on United Alan, help me out here, man.
Right, okay, OYM is down at the moment, but you can hear us on United We Strike, TNS Radio, and now Wolf Spirit Radio.
Okay, what's TNS's website?
TNS Radio, it's tns.ning.com. tnsradio.ning.com.
Okay, and UWS?
UWS is, the best way to hear the UWS stream is to go to OYM-Ireland.com and then click on the player and you'll hear the UWS stream on that.
Well, there you go, that'll do.
So you can go to wakenews.net, Wake News Radio as well.
Yeah. Karen, where can you go?
UnitedWeStrike.com, UnitedWeWin.me. We're multicasting.
We're multicasting like a good one.
And, of course, we have international locations like Karen's in the States, JP's in Scotland, we're in Ireland, and Detlev is in Switzerland. So it's a good cross-section globally.
Yeah, not bad. We need a few Antipodeans to join in and see where we go. But anyway, so that's this is Wolf Spirit Radio joining in, and so what are we talking about? We're talking about the end of the world, and this is your sort of Alan and Steve's segment. So do you want to introduce yourselves to the Wolf Spirit Radio people? Okay,
well, this is OYM. This is our regular show, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. GMT, broadcasting from Ireland, and we have Karen Quintostado from United We Strike in the States. We have JP from Wolf Spirit Radio in Scotland, and we have Detlev from Wake News Radio in Switzerland, and you have myself, Alan, and
you have myself, Stephen, as well.
So we're talking all things kind of predictions, the 21st, and what did happen or didn't happen, and we're just about to go over to JP and ask JP to give us a heads up on this chap called Tolak.
Okay, so Tolak. Tolak, Tolak. Where is it?
Tolak doesn't sound like this. Okay, he sounds very, very normal. He doesn't sound weird or alien.
Or like this, really bad.
Or like this, very sinister.
He sounds like a regular kind of bloke.
I wonder what JP got for Christmas earlier.
Actually, I bought this at least 10 years ago, but I hardly ever use it. And I was just playing with it the other night, so I thought, right, this is the end of the world, so screw it. And here we go. So I've just been playing around and exploring my alter egos. I quite like that little kind of speeded up alien fellow.
Okay.
Meanwhile,
back in the farm.
Yes, Tolak. Now, I had him as a guest in the beginning of 2012. Now, did he approach me? I can't remember if I approached him or... Anyway, we had a long series of interactions, interactions to prepare for the show. And it just happened to be that night was the night of United We Strike, as it was in January. And it just so happened that the slot that I was using to broadcast, the time slot, I couldn't have 2 contiguous hours, which I normally do, and I had to split it. This is, I mean, I was cool with that, and I was rolling with it, and I was kind of about to ask him, do you mind if we do 2 hours? And he came back, and he before I was able to ask him, he said, would it be possible to split the show into 2 separate hours? Because in the first hour I want to do this, and the second hour I want to do this. And I thought, well, he's obviously really in tune with what's going on, because that was it was completely spontaneous on his part. I didn't ask him yet to split the show. But it just turned out that the show was needing to be split because of the time constraints, and that's what he wanted to do anyway. Excellent. So I did a pre-recorded interview with him, and the second hour it was like he told a story, and it was a story of the Dakota tribe, or the people from planet Dakota, which is in the Pleiades. Okay, and can you give us a bit of a background of who he is? Okay, well, as far as, Tolek the bloke, whatever his real name is, John Doe or whatever, he's I think he's an IT guy somewhere, he does his thing, but, he's got his own life. And then he's been contacted, he's been, was it CE5? Close Encounters of the... What's the number when you go with them? So basically, they took him through time and space back to the 1800s, and allowed him to observe this family. And he didn't really kind of link it all together at the time, but he had this experience with them, and they were, able to show him time and space travel, obviously, and they offered him the chance of staying there and having advanced knowledge in the 1840s backwater. But he came back, and so he has an interaction with people in the Andromedan Council. Right now, the Andromedan Council is not based in Andromeda, which is another galaxy. But there is a representation, and it's I suppose, for want of a better word, it is very much like the Galactic Federation that is portrayed in Star Trek, and the kind of benevolent federation who don't want to interfere very much. Okay. But because the people from these planets have colonists on this planet, this is the really good stuff. We're colonists. The whole planet is a colony. None of us are really, born here. We didn't evolve on this planet, so to speak. All these different races, our ancestors come from different places. And what he's saying is that this particular group that he's had contact with, and these are what look like American Indians, but they're 7 feet tall. And they are what the Dakota, Lakota, Nakota tribes refer to as their star elders. Now, we have a kind of insider guy who knows about some of these things from the American Indian traditions, and he knew this story, but he knew that no white man, as it were, knew that the people that were the star elders, the ancestors of these races, were actually 7 feet tall. That was an incredible, nobody knew it. No white man knew that fact. So that was his confirmation that Tolek's information was real, because what he's saying is that there was so a long time ago. In a galaxy far away. Actually, not in a galaxy far away. In a solar system not that far away. In fact, our solar system but not the solar system as we know it, but the system that our sun is a solar system of, and that's what we call the Pleiades. There's one very bright star which is known as Alcyone, or Alcyone, and you can see that if you're looking up at Orion. Everybody recognizes Orion, and then you look up to the top right, and you see a red, bright shining star. That's Aldebaran. And then the same distance in the same direction further on, you find this little star cluster called Pleiades. And that's what they call the Seven Sisters, and it's actually more than 100 stars because we're all like being. Alcyone is traveling through space, and we're kind of spiraling in after Alcyone, and so here we have a bunch of planets, a bunch of stars. And one of them is called Taygeta. Now, if you've got a map of the Pleiades and you look at the Pleiades, Taygeta is it's just up on the top right. It's like the rightmost large star. It's kind of in a straight line from Alcyone. And around that planet is a planet called Dakota. And around that, in Dakota, they have it's basically like rainbow elders, It's like the star elders. This is where they come from. This is where they colonized from, and they continue the old ways, but they're like spacefaring native Turtle Islanders, and I think it's really cool.
Okay, can I just touch base on Tolak though? Can we just touch base?
Anyone.
Tolak is a contactee, is he? And
yes.
he's in regular contact with the Federation, and he is a website called the AndromedanCouncil.com, I believe, is the website.
Yeah, it's not the Federation. So
it's not
there's
the
all these
Federation.
organizations or bodies or bodies of entities that call themselves Galactic Federation of Light. I have no idea whether they're right or wrong.
Yeah.
But we do know that William Shatner was contacted in the mid-60s by a group saying, you're going to be part of a science fiction program that's going to change the world. And it's going to tell the story of the Galactic Federation. And so that's what Star Trek come from.
Okay.
And so, they knew about this. And these shows, you really, really have to take science fiction seriously these days. Because everything that was in there, we're now learning, was actually real. People were using time technology.
Yeah.
I've been speaking with William Stillings, who's an industry insider, and he's been telling us all about how these things work, what kind of technologies, what kind of science you need to do time travel. What kind of elements, what kind of understanding of geometry you have to understand how these things work. So.
Well,
we're finding that time travel and these things are real.
Well, we're hoping to have Andrew Basiago, I think is how you pronounce his name, on the show actually in January. Andrew's going to be on. Now, just touching base on what Tolak is saying. Tolak is saying that we will be in the 4th/5th dimension by January 2014, and by the middle of this year, 2013. We will have, things will be happening up to the middle of this year. Whether it's the Ascension, whether it's Project Bluebeam, whether it's, Disclosure, I don't know. But these are things that he said. Now, I was emailing, thanks to JP, I got Tolak's email address. And as usual, I'm a skeptic, and obviously that doesn't really bear well with some people. And I kind of asked Tolak, I said, well, what would be the situation if what you're saying didn't happen? And he didn't get back to me on the email, so I assume that probably upset him to the fact that I kind of questioned what he was saying. And I think that's really wrong, really, because, I'm sure he's had that question asked to him before. Maybe he has a question, an FAQ, a self-prepared question for something like that. But, and I do have concerns when you actually challenge people over certain beliefs, and just want to hear what they say about it, and he didn't get back to me on it, so I don't think he's going to be on their show anytime soon. But I'd like to pass
never say never.
No, never say never, yeah.
Well, just if I can just jump in and just say, when we were talking about what was or was not going to happen, or may not happen, or did or didn't happen, we're kind of basing it on the Mayan calendar. And if, as was said earlier, there is a flaw in that, and instead of being this year, 2012, it's going to be 2116. A lot of people's predictions. I mean, let's say for whatever Tolak is saying, excuse me, is he saying that based on knowledge that he has, or is he like? What I'm wondering is, are a lot of people kind of basing their predictions, if you like, on the Mayan calendar? Well,
no. This is what he was told from this Andromedan Council, to what's going to happen, and there's basically biospheres in our atmosphere. Now, funny enough, I know this is going to be very strange. You might be thinking, a couple of weeks ago, remember I said on the show that...
There's nothing on this show that sounds strange.
Okay. Remember I said a couple of weeks ago, I've been having dreams, which I'm not a person that dreams, but as of late I've been having dreams. Yeah. One of the dreams involved an actual... I could remember looking up and seeing one of these biospheres in our atmosphere. In the sky, right?
You see them all the time, like.
Now, yeah, of course. So, apparently Tolak says that, and you can, Google his interviews and listen to him talking, and he says that there's loads of these biospheres. Some of them are the size of Saturn, and they can hold 6 billion people. And maybe the whole idea, the ascension thing, is that we will get taken off the planet because the planet has to heal itself, or if something is going to happen, the kill shot or whatever, maybe it will all happen. I don't really know, but this is what is kind of being said. Now I'll pop it over to Karen, and just get your take on it and what you think about all this.
Well, I think that there's always the possibility for miracles, and actually I do believe in miracles and that we are the instruments through which they flow. I also believe that we have been lied to on so many levels for so very long, always trained and taught to give away our power to somebody or something else who's going to come at X amount of time and save us. And we keep putting off actually growing up ourselves. So whether or not other sentient life in the universe exists, I believe it does, but I'm not seeing evidence of it here manifesting now. If it's because we're just too far behind and the prime directive is you can't come in when people are claiming that they are civilized, and yet they're condoning murder. They're sitting comfortably around their tables and not paying attention to the fact that, their son might be home for Christmas, but that's not really their son. Look at the rates of suicide. Look at the immorality. Look at the harm being done all around us. And as we wait for somebody else to come and save us, more and more harm is being done. So I would hope that what this really is a wake-up call, so that all of us can start living fuller lives in the here and the now. And some of the things, some of the predictions and the heroes and the belief systems that we've had, I think it's time to take a real good look at it. Maybe for Christmas, the best gift we can give ourselves is to sit back and to really ask ourselves why we believe what we believe, and where did it come from, and could it possibly have been just a manipulation and another game like the current fraudulent Federal Reserve banking system. Look at this. When we really get to the simplicity of it all, our sons, daughters, mothers, fathers, and children, they're sacrificed for war, which only profits the bankers. And who is taking orders from bankers and giving them all the money, and they're too big to fail, but we're not? The government. So what is it in us that we feel that we have to be governed? Why can't we just grow up? Steve, when you were talking the other night about that moment, I'm thinking, okay, an aha moment. It'd be great if we could have an aha moment where we did, like JP, you said, I think around the beginning of the year, we go to sleep at night, we all have a dream of what our lives will look like, and when we wake up in the morning, we know exactly what we need to do. Well, I was hoping for that. I've been hoping for miracles my whole life. And all I see right now is the fact that more people have been conned. There are a lot of people who paid big money for things to happen on December 21st. There are people who continue to pay and say, here, tell me how I should live my life. Well, maybe, it's the great wake-up call, the great unveiling, which actually an unveiling is the definition of apocalypse anyway. So maybe this is it. This is the great unveiling, and instead of waiting, like if it's going to happen next year, that'd be great. That would be awesome. If it doesn't happen in the meantime, how about us getting down to the business of withdrawing support from this horrible nightmare planet we live on, where people die every day and more of our rights are being taken away. We can't have freedom of speech. We're not going to be able to choose our vitamins here in the United States. I know that's already hit you people in the UK. It's time that we understood that we're about to be totally enslaved and our descendants have no chance whatsoever. And if we continue to sit back and believe in someone like Jesus, not saying that isn't a good belief, but think about Jesus' tenets, Forgive, turn the other cheek, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. The kingdom of God is not on this planet. Well, if you were wanting to rule other people, wouldn't you want them to believe that? Turn the other cheek when the soldiers come and they steal your money for my taxes. Forgive them. Your kingdom's in heaven. Don't do anything here. I just think that we need to really understand that the only thing that we can count on, in my opinion, is right here and right now, and it is the third dimension. So I think we need to get real solid and understand that until something happens that actually does stop the world with 3 days of darkness or whatever, until that actually happens, let's just keep plugging away, but let's start to plug away toward freedom and creating a better world for all of us, because no one else is going to do it for us.
Exactly. I think that's quite poignant that we keep doing it. Detlev, what's your take on Tolak and, the whole kind of third, fourth, fifth dimension?
Well, let's put it this way. I've put some thoughts, behind the third dimension. And something Karen also mentioned, it is maybe that's a prison status. So people or beings who are in the third dimension have a certain prison time, as you can call it like that possibly. And only once you get the consciousness that there is more than the matrix or the hologram or the third dimension which you're experiencing, then you are able to step out of this prison, really. And by doing this, you're already entering the next dimension. So I'm not really sure we are only yet captured here in the third dimension. I think we have already progressed to a certain extent. So external things may happen. But as I mentioned earlier on, the internal things are, ourselves, myself, that is where the change has to come from, because we are all connected, aren't we? So, and if we can receive beams from wherever they come from the middle of the universe, then, and we are also frequency, as JP mentioned earlier on as well. We are part of it. So, it's just that the current status of us, we can see each other in the mirror and can see I'm a girl, I'm a man, whatever, I'm pretty or I'm not. This is just, this is illusion. Because in truth, we're just frequency.
Yeah, we have vibration, we have energy. Steve?
Yeah,
right.
I actually agree, and I think what Karen said, it kind of, that rings true to me. Because if let's say for argument's sake there's 6 billion people on the planet, this is obviously just my thoughts again, 6 billion people on the planet, if half of those people, let's say for argument's sake we need 5 billion people for something to happen, for an ascension or something like a planetary Christ consciousness or something, I don't know. But let's say 5 billion people need to be awake and on the same frequency for that to happen or to occur. If a large portion of the planet is being kept dumbed down and being kept asleep through all these, means that I mentioned earlier, TV and all that sort of stuff, they'll never get a chance to vibrate on that frequency. So maybe, again, say it's just my opinion, but maybe maybe this 21st, maybe it was going to happen and maybe it didn't happen because the frequency wasn't high enough. You and I were involved in radio communications. We know about frequency and we know about the power. And let's say, for argument's sake, there is a frequency, and all the people who are awake, you're vibrating on that given frequency. So am I. So is Karen. So is JP. So is Detlev. We're all on that frequency. But let's say, in order for something to happen, the whole planet needs to be on the same frequency. So therefore, the power rate, the power level, can be so intense that a change will occur. Well, is that too outlandish?
No, that makes sense, because I was thinking something like that the other day, and I don't know how you guys feel about this, and I want to get your opinion on it. Okay, there's two things I want to talk about. One is the free will, and one is the frequency change. Now, this frequency change, I feel, is a conscious frequency change. It's a conscious shift. Okay, and what I find is, and I don't know about you guys, but I find that more and more, I find it hard to be with people who aren't on my frequency, who don't vibrate on the same frequency as I vibrate. I.e., the subjects that we talk about and what's going on in the world. If somebody starts talking to me about, what was on TV last night and everything else, I'm just, I'm really, really not interested. And it's this, I just feel, not that I'm any better than anybody else, I just feel I'm vibrating on a completely different frequency, a conscious frequency. And where you guys, we can all talk to each other and we all vibrate in the same frequency, because we've all woken up, we've all raised their conscious frequency to this awakening. People who are not awake are on a lower frequency and they have to wake up. And maybe this is what it is. Maybe the shift, it's fourth dimensional shift, is this conscious awakening. The frequency is higher when you wake up. So I'm just going to put it to you guys. How do you feel about that, Karen?
Well, I think that's definitely possible, the frequency to wake up. I mean, we are sound and we are vibration. And other than that, Alan, I've looked around, and a lot of these theories, too, depending on where you go, say that there isn't this big galactic alignment, that really didn't happen. There's so many theories out there, and I'm really just starting to think that most of them are distractions to keep us from taking action now. And if this frequency is being raised, that's great. And I do believe that all of us on this call have consciously chosen to break through maybe the lower frequency of denial that too many of us still live in, denying that we're in the physical predicament that we are in, denying that we have an obligation to be accountable to our grandchildren, denying that we really are living in a prison planet with just a very few, and they want us to go back to the days where the kings and queens ruled. They held their court. They had the wonderful lands all around them to go hunting when they wanted, and they had just enough servants. No uppity slaves were permitted, but just enough servants to be docile and to feel good about renting land from the king, to be able to go once a year and give the king gifts, because even though they pay him all year long, they've got to give the Lord of the Manor a gift for Christmas for allowing them to live on the land. We've got this inequality. I'd like to see our DNA raised enough to be equal, where we can look somebody like Obama in the eye and say, just wait a damn minute here. No to $4 million vacations. No to drones. No to phony tears. No to children being murdered. And you coming out and talking about how horrible that is and protect our children. Well, yeah, let's protect them from prescriptions. Let's protect them from the chemicals that are killing them. Let's do that with our young men and women in the service. Let's wake up. I mean, if there is a vibration of truth coming, JP, I'd like to ask you about that ribbon. I mean, is that ribbon, so many things are hoaxed and everything else, but it would be great to think, yes, there is an alignment. We're actually consciously coming into a place where the shift is happening vibrationally, and it'll take us a while to actually physically see it. If we just moved into the Bronze Age, what is that, 200 or 2,000 more years in the Bronze Age before we hit the Silver Age, before we hit the Golden Age? Well, the only way we're going to see that is if we're reincarnated then, or if we consciously choose to say, you know what, we do outnumber them. They're killing us on every front imaginable. They're stealing our money. They're beating us in the streets. They do not pay attention. They don't care. They don't care. So what would happen if we said, okay, then we don't care for following your rules because the reason we're here is because we've obeyed. We're going to think for ourselves, you are not better than I am. None of us need to sleep on the street at night. None of us need to be hungry. None of us need to go without because the bankers on the other side have the excess and live in abundance while betting on the weather and killing us. You know, I think it's time to wake up.
I think this energy, forget about the galactic wave for the moment, I'd say, Karen, just on a personal level, just for people waking up, if you want to say, you know, the people who actually wake up and all of a sudden the penny drops and they get it. When that penny drops, that's when their conscious frequency rises. They get it.
Yes, and that would be perfect, and that's also why I keep plugging away for the United We Strike idea, because just like Occupy happened overnight. Now, yes, some of that was planted, is planted, but the spirit of freedom within the hearts and minds of the people is real. And I keep hoping that the energy will shift enough to where people all over the world realize freedom is more important than their jobs. You know, peace is more important than war. Having their children go off and fight and be vaccinated and poisoned and studied, the experiments the government is doing on us, you know, that we're being run by the mafia. So energetically, yes. And then I'm hoping that that energy will click all at once and we'll say, you know what, we don't have to fight them. We can step out of the uniform into our lives. We can go home. We can go home and ignore them because we could actually be living lives of beauty and joy and abundance as long as we do not commit harm. And so energetically, yes, I do think that that is possible. So hopefully, maybe that's happening, and maybe it has something to do with that ribbon, where it actually does affect us. We are energy, vibration, and frequency, so I still have hope, but I think that we have to act.
Okay, well, let's talk to JP about the ribbon. What's this, JP?
What's the ribbon? Okay, so I'm going to take you out of the planet. I'm going to take you up. We're looking at the planet getting smaller and smaller. Then we're able to see the sun and the things, and it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And we're zooming out and zooming out and zooming out and going up. And eventually we'll see ourselves as part of a spiral. There's a curved arm, and we zoom out further, and you see the galaxy as a whole. And it appears to be like a kind of spiral starfish, and the Earth is right out in the edge, right on the rim. So when we look at the galaxy, what we see is a kind of white banding of light. I mean, there's so many billions of stars there that all we see is a kind of slightly lighter area of space, and that's what we call the Milky Way. And we also call this galaxy, I think, Sagittarius B. So when we're looking at the center of the galaxy, we're looking at the constellation of Sagittarius and Scorpio, and in fact this mythical 13th sign, which is called Ophiuchus, or Ophiuchus, anyway, and Ophiuchus. And anyway, that's the location in our skies of the center of the galaxy. So let's zoom up again. We can see the galaxy from the top. Now, imagine that we're looking now at the surface of a pond, and we throw a rock into the surface of the pond, right into the middle. And then we zoom down. We drop the camera down to the surface of the water towards the edge of the pond. And you see the wave coming towards you, but you don't see a round thing. You see a flat thing getting wider as it comes towards you. Now, back to our galaxy, there's a pulse of energy that emanates from the black hole in the center of the galaxy. They call it Hunab-Ku in the Mayan. That center of the galaxy is 26,000 light years away. And that pulse it takes considerably longer than that to reach us. But this thing in the middle is pulsing away. You know, they're very slow pulses, enormously long periods of time, and perhaps to that is just like a heartbeat. But essentially, the universe is pulsing. It's alive. The galaxy is alive. It's a living thing. It has a consciousness, and that consciousness is part of every atom in the galaxy. So that's what we call God. All that is, because all that is the consciousness of that which we are. That's the galaxy, and every so often we get a burst of stuff from the center of the galaxy towards the rim, and this is what's hitting us. And there are major cycles of wave, just like when you see on the sea. You see a large wave, and you see like 7 or 8 smaller ones, and then you see another large one. You see 7 or 8 smaller ones. So there's this kind of rhythm to it. And apparently, we're due to be hit by a large one, which is a real kind of system reset of photons and just about every other particle that could be emanated from a black hole. It's coming our way. And this
we
is
don't know when,
supposed to
do
be
we?
creating a spontaneous evolution.
Do you know when?
Tuesday?
About lunchtime?
About lunchtime. Just outside Coronation Street, yeah. The Christmas edition. Any idea? Rough idea?
Well, the idea was it was going to hit today. It's going to hit the sun today, and it would then take however long it took for the sun to do its thing, and then boom. Well, that's the idea anyway. I don't know, but that seems to be the same as the time wave. You see, there's various things that are going on all at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think we should bear these in mind, that these are things that we should be taking an interest in. Number one is the CERN reactor, or collider, or whatever it is. And what it does is create a counter-rotating series of plasma beams and photons and heavier objects and things like that. And when you have counter-rotation at very high speeds, you're then going to be affecting gravity. And you're going to be able to produce a gravity wave. And as far as I can understand from my conversations with Stillings, is that the gravity is a wave, everything's a wave. You become a wave when you teleport. It's not, oh, by the way, teleportation, right, for the record, is more like Stargate than it is like Star Trek. You're not broken into beams, and you know, you're not broken into tiny packets and then reconstituted the other end digitally, because you'd be soup, really.
Yeah.
But what the teleport machine does, and you have to move through it. You have to keep going at 1 meter a second. It's not the easiest thing. Basically, you have to be kind of in a good run when you move through it, because if you don't have any part of you moving that fast, you lose it, literally. You know, if you swing your arm back, your arm therefore has, you know, a compound speed of 0, and it disappears. You lose it. It's not nice. There's you know, lots of accidents have happened during the testing of these things. But basically, the teleport machines that he was using then, they've probably improved them now. You had to keep moving through. So it was very much more like the Stargate wormhole, where you know, it's almost like a liquid tunnel that you're poured through. And there are time travel machines that is almost like a trampoline that you jump into, and you drop through, and then you're kind of steered somehow to the place where you land. And then there's others that like the Stargate, but it was kind of more like a 10. There's a video of it on YouTube of this teleport machine. And you see it it's very much like the Stargate opening. You know, you see this fuzziness, and then there's a kind of big flash, and this thing's then in operation. And so all of these things, when we were kids, this was science fiction, this was unreal, but it's real, and they've been using it, and they've been messing about with time. and there are timelines that they're trying to move us on and off, and this is where Bill Brockrader comes in, and the Yellow Book, and Dan Burish, and other people have spoken about this thing that is like the machine in Contact. Do you remember the film Contact?
Of course, yeah.
Had these 3 gimbals spinning around in counter rotation. Again, it's always about rings and counter rotation. Now, I have to say. Out of the corner of my eye, I keep seeing lights out in the sky, and I'm facing kind of 90 degrees away from my window, but I'm catching light in the corner. Now I live in the place which is really dark, But
well, do you want to go and check it out and let us know what you're?
Yeah, hang on a second.
Okay, I'll just pass over to Detlev. Detlev, give us your take on Tolak and the. Did I ask you this already?
Yes, you did, but nevertheless, I think many things are happening. We always are tending to just think third-dimensionally. Even if I listen to JP describing how he would describe the ribbon, right?
Yeah.
This is all seen through a third-dimensional view. It's difficult for us not to look through a third-dimensional view, but I guess things could also be happening parallelly all the time, and we wouldn't even, get to it. I mean, we wouldn't even discover that. So that's why I'm always a little cautious, in descriptions like that. It's nothing against JP. He's done a great job explaining this to us now. It's just that I'm always keeping in mind that there is something else which may be next to you, and you wouldn't even discover it, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, and I think the switch to to another dimension or whatever comes up doesn't necessarily need to be, traveling through through space or what have you. It can happen next to you because we may be in a multidimensional scenario already. You just need to step to the left or to the right. What's your view on that?
Well, yeah. I mean, the trouble is there's so much going on. I mean, I noticed you posted in the chat facility there, Detlev, January the 12th, 2013. Yeah?
Yeah. Sorry, that's our next United We Strike radio marathon.
Okay, fine. Okay, just to let people know.
Yeah, we shouldn't forget the little things, as well. That was a reminder.
I thought that. Oh no, here we go. We got another date for something else. Yeah, I'm getting. As I say, I seem to be getting more skeptical.
Not to be afraid, guys. Not to be afraid of that date.
Don't be afraid.
Be afraid of us.
Be very afraid. JP, any look with the lights?
I can't see anything out there, so I don't even see the farmer, because it's sometimes the farmer's got these big searchlights, because I live in 2 fields. One has cows, one has sheep, and the farmer's always kind of losing cows because they blunder through the thing. So he's got this searchlight that he uses. But anyway, I will keep you reported with peripheral vision.
Yeah, keep us interested keep us informed if you see anything. The other question I want to put out to the 3 of you as well is regarding, again, something that, and I'm just throwing it out there, again, the whole free will thing, and this kind of, what do they call it? The Prime Directive, where they say, well, we can't interfere because you have free will, and that's what Earth is all about. And I thought about this, and I thought, well, hang on a minute, we don't have free will because our system has been manipulated and controlled for over 200 years, if not more. So how can we have free will if we know there's only certain things that we can do and we're being restricted all the time? And so technically, we don't really have free will, we're being controlled. Free will, for us, will be the ultimate goal for everybody to have free will and take responsibility for ourselves and our actions. That's really what, probably going to the golden age is going to be like, where you will be responsible for yourself and you'll do what you want, but you have to, if anything happens, you will be responsible for it. So, I don't know, what's your take on that, Karen, about free will? I mean, do you feel that we have free will, or do you feel that we never really had free will because the system has been controlled since before we were born?
I pretty much think that the system's been controlled for so long we don't even know what free will is. We like to think that we're free now, but we can't say no. We can't say no, you can't use my money to buy bombs and subsidize the war and war profiteering. No, I don't want to have my child take that vaccine without a huge bunch of bull crap. You can't say no. Child Protective Services has absolutely no right to be in my home telling me what to do. You can't say no, I do not want Obamacare, and there are about to be some very unhappy people this year facing the ramifications of that. If you can't say no, you're not free. And if you're not free, why are we spoon-fed all this stuff about being free? Well, to keep us right here loving our servitude, bread and circuses. As long as they can give us distractions, so many people are going to be getting their own little personal devices that they can plug themselves into. At Christmas time, it further separates us from each other and from our families, from really having a family. And I read an article the other day, I sent it out, about the young men in this country, in America. The poor performance of these young men who don't know how to be men. They're adolescent boys. They've got the Peter Pan syndrome where, I want to stay home and live off my parents who will pay my rent while I play computer games and go to my girlfriend's house every time I want to have sex. I don't have to grow up. I don't have to have a family. And I want to help porn be the big thing online. And, in terms of consciousness and free will, we're distracted. We're too easily swayed by things outside of ourselves, which is, again, why I think that this time now is important for those of us who want to be reflective on this last year and what we believe, why we believe it. If there's a wave out there, good. NASA changes things. We're edited on damn near every level you can think of. And some I can't even think of. So I just figure that it's time to be real, to be right here, right now, and do what we can to see through the lies and deception and understand that free will means the ability to say no. We cannot do that. So we're not free.
I agree. JP, do you think we're free? I think JP's gone off to check the lights again.
He's been abducted by the lights.
Been abducted.
Blinded by the light.
Detlev, do you think we're free?
Well, basically, I think yes. It's just a matter of discovering that you are. And that is, again, a matter of technique, really, to get back to the basics, because, we are being distracted by frequencies, by noises, by, telling us what to do, telling us what to believe, and keeping us down, and, not discovering our strengths, but rather show us our weaknesses all the time. So that is basically the technique of those who want to have control about us. Because if they hadn't, or if they are going to lose it, and then that's what's going to happen, then we are able to use our basic freedom again. And again, this is part of our task, really. Everybody who's on this call here, to do his part or her part to be part of this, and to help our fellow people to wake up. I mean, this is really a matter of waking up, don't you think?
I definitely think so. Steve, what do you think? Do you think we have free will?
I think we do have free will. However, as I get into trouble at home, when you go to answer a question.
We don't want to talk about that.
No, but when every time I go to answer a question at home, I always kind of visualize it and I put it into a picture. I paint a picture. But I think we do have free will, and here's my picture. It's like you're going down a motorway in life, and there's 10 lanes, and free will means we can be in any one of those lanes. We can go from lane 1 to lane 3. We can then jump to lane 7. That's free will, in my opinion, on the motorway of life. However, on the far, far left and the far, far right are guide rails or safety rails that have been put up for our protection. There's a vast has been updated, thanks for that. But those rails that are there either side, they're put there for our protection when you think about it. But if once they are there, it means we have free will, but then we have free will inside of these parameters. But So therefore, we do have free will, but we technically, on the greater scheme, we don't. Because if we had true free will, then we wouldn't need those barriers there, those safety barriers, because true free will would mean that we would know if there was a danger, we would sense it ourselves, and we would take precautionary action to avoid it. So therefore, do I think we have free will? In the great scheme of things, in the bigger picture, no.
Okay, fair enough. JP?
Well, sorry about that. I was downstairs checking the kettle. Do we have free will? Yeah, we have free will. Do we use it? No, we don't. Okay, so here's my example of free will. Free will is, I want to move away. I want to. I don't want to work for the man. I don't want to work for people who hurt other people. You know, my being is harmlessness. So if I contribute taxes to a harmful regime, then I'm causing harm, so I can't do that. So I'm choosing to not pay taxes to those kind of people. I would work with local people because I like to. I want to work with my friends because that's my will to do so. I don't want to give money to my enemies. Why should I want to do that? So I'm making efforts to turn my life into a life that truly is harmless, that doesn't involve coercion, that doesn't involve domination. And in order to do that, I have to unfund certain things. Now, there are things that you can't unfund at the moment, like mains electricity, but I'm doing my best to buy batteries and LED systems so that I can go away from having to fund the polluting nuclear power. Or, do you understand what I'm saying? Is that,
yeah, of course.
All of these things that we give money to, that we feel are compulsory, we're being compulsed to, we're being coerced by force of arms to do so, because, if you don't do them, some guy with a gun is going to come to your house and enforce this mandatory taxation. Which is, the same as the old landlord rent that you were talking about earlier on. It's still a feudal system. It just looks modern. So I'm, my whole New Age thing, to me the New Age is, right, okay, I'm going to do my thing, because I know that there's billions of other people who are also going to do their thing. And when we all do our thing, we'll find out later that we all did our thing all at the same time. And how cool is that?
Yeah, well, that's it. We need to be united in what we do, and that's it's that caricature that was on Facebook, where everybody's on the plank. If you imagine walking the plank, and all these people are holding the plank up, and at the end of the plank are the politicians and the government, and we have the power. And basically, if we take our foot off the plank, it falls into the water. We have to realise that we have the power. And that we can take our foot off the plank. A lot of the people feel comfortable leaving the foot on the plank, and they don't know about that. They don't actually know that they can take their foot off the plank.
Well, I wouldn't say they're comfortable keeping their foot on the plank. I'd say they've been conditioned by fear that they're afraid to take their foot off the plank because the fear of what may or may not happen.
But they don't actually know, because they, when they defend their belief system, because I'm okay, Jack, so not everybody else. So they don't actually know about the foot is actually on the plank at all. They just think that the politicians are in control. Maybe they think the plank is nailed down, and no matter what they do, it won't matter. The plank will stay there.
True, yeah.
Are realising. So, because people who are kind of, I'm okay, Jack, sod everybody else, have in their belief system, they don't really want to wake up because they're comfortable with what they're doing. They're happy in the system, and they have that belief, and that's why we need to get away from this ego-based system and more into...
Alan, maybe, too, that belief in free will is awakening to see that our feet are on the plank, because then once you do see that, we do have limited choices. I can choose what I want to believe at this stage of the game because I've worked my way through seeing so many fallacies, and I'm 60. I've been knocking around for a while. My final thing here with December 21st with hoping for the best, yet starting to anticipate as we got closer and closer that it looks like we still need to make those decisions to save ourselves. Yes, that's the free will, but in terms of having free will to do what we want within the world that we live in today, that's being restricted more and more every day.
Definitely. I mean, if we look back, even if you go back 10 years at the restrictions we had then compared to what we have now, we probably wouldn't believe it. If we were shown what was happening today 10 years ago, we probably wouldn't believe it.
Of course you wouldn't, because we'd say, no, there's no way the people would accept that. But then, as you say, the totalitarian tiptoe, when it's done by, piece by piece by piece by piece over a 10 or whatever year period, we don't realise what's actually happening. But you're spot on. If we were to travel back in time 20 years ago and look at today, we'd be horrified. We'd go, "What? No, there's no way that people would accept that."
But we do, because again, it goes back to, I like the analogy of the frog. If you put a frog in a pan of hot water, he'll jump straight out. But if you put him in a pan of cold water and then turn up the heat gradually, he won't realise.
Yeah.
And that's the totalitarian tiptoe. So we have to be careful of. Right, guys, we have about 20 minutes left, so we need to, what we can do is kind of do some summing up, I think, or if there's anything that you want to chat about. I mean, there is a question here, Steve, you want to take that for one of our listeners?
A question here from Lord Vapor. I'll just put it on the table. Lord Vapor is one of our regular listeners. And
not Lord Vader.
No, not Lord. No. This is his son, Lord Vapor. Both lords, by this, But anyway, he's one of our regular listeners and a good guy. And I actually don't have the technology this end to do the Darth Vader voice to pose the question, so I'll just say, question, do our speakers have any comments on angels materializing material bodies before the flood and procreating with women to produce the hybrid Nephilim, or the so-called men of fame, or titans of the golden age, as the Greeks believed?
Well, that's a big question, isn't it?
JP, you can do better than that.
Well, we got 20 minutes left. It's a little, isn't it?
That's
yeah. Where do you want to start? Do you want to? I mean, Detlev, you live in Switzerland, right?
True.
And are there, are there like indigenous people? Like in the Pyrenees, there are the Basque people, and they very ancient. Is there a kind of ancient Swiss race that we don't know about?
Well, not really. Actually, I think everybody who lives in Switzerland since let's say a couple of thousand years ago. We don't know what happened before then. Those were people who were really, traveling through or trying to hide, because you've got lots of mountains here. There isn't much growing on top of mountains, so there are valleys, right? But if you choose valleys, then you most probably want to hide from somewhere, from somebody, because you're hard to find. So people were not created in valleys over here, but they flew to those directions. That's what my guess would be. So I don't think there is any real indigenous population over here. So it's all a mixture of what came along, and we all know the story. With the foundation of Switzerland. But, this is also a long story, so, maybe we cut this, because then otherwise it would just be me here and the rest of the time.
Okay, well, that's fair enough to add to that. Can I just say, for the few minutes we have, I think this year is going to be, I'd like to think this year is going to be a year that will change everything. Whether it's what Tolek predicts, whether they use Project Bluebeam, still on the cards as a possibility. Werner von Braun said it, and we were talking to Dr. Carol Roslin about this, and Stuart Strudlow about the actual Project Bluebeam. It's a possibility. I don't know. But I think this year we're going to see a lot of changes. Well, I hope to say that we'll see a lot of changes. And we'll see what happens, because the paradigm shift is changing, and the powers to be don't want that to happen because they're comfortable the way things are. But I think they're kicking and screaming at the moment now. I think they are struggling, because people are beginning to wake up en masse and go, well, listen, I'm not having this anymore. End of story. So I do think that is happening and at the moment, and it will probably continue in 2013. maybe we will. I don't know whether we'll have disclosure, whether Obama or somebody's going to turn around and say, okay, we've had it secret for 60 odd years, but here's the story. I don't think that will happen. I think it'll be gradual disclosure by certain countries, maybe like China, and then it'll just gradually come into the from the alternative media into the mainstream media. Just gradually, a few bits and pieces will be drip fed, and then before you know it, after a few years, it'll get to, we found a rock and we found this and found that, and as time goes on, they'll be finding more things much bigger and interesting, and people going, oh yeah, no, I agree with that. And before you know it, it's again the totalitarian tiptoe, but with this disclosure.
Alan.
Yeah.
Can I say something on this? Because this is something quite close to my heart. But I think that it's not going to be the ability of the government to stop this. And the idea was that there was a Tibetan monk who did what we would now call a remote view into the future. And one of the things that he said was that there would be a race of beings, a race of people who are our family, who want to come and live here. And some people might be upset about that. They'll really be illegal aliens. And they might be people. They might be, humanoid. They may not be. They may be the original inhabitants of this planet. They may have been here first. We still have this arrogance that we're the only beings on this planet. There's people under. There's people deep in. There's people everywhere. And and under the sea, who have been here a long, long time, from what I understand. It's like we've been living in what's called a cloistered world. What's the word? A sheltered. As humans, we've had a sheltered upbringing. We're not aware of the reality, even on our own planet, let alone what's going on the moon and these other places. But back to the point of what disclosure is disclosure again, it's not going to be by governments. It's going to be by the people, and by the people meeting real extraterrestrials who are friendly, and they come down and come around for tea and talk about how things are for them. That's how it's going to be, and really that's the kind of future that I'd like. Nice new neighbours. Old friends, old cousins.
Well, funny
not green bug-eyed things with tentacles who are going to suck out souls. Mind you, apparently there's a couple of those as well.
Well, funny you should say that, JP. I was watching a seminar done by Bob Dean, and for people who don't know Bob Dean, he's ex-military. He had top secret clearance, above top secret clearance, and he's in his 80s now, and he's done a lot of documentaries and seminars, and the one I was watching was the one he did in 2009, and he actually turns around during the seminar and says there is a couple in this audience at the moment who are not born on this planet. And of course, I'm sure people were kind of wondering who they were, and he goes into the fact that we're not on our own. This little speck in our galaxy, the amount of billions and billions of stars and planets that are out there, we cannot be the only ones. So, and it's just Bob Dean has been involved in this, as you know, JP, for a long, long time. He's been done numerous interviews. Project Camelot has done a few interviews with him, Kerry Cassidy. And it's just curious that he turned around and said that there's two people in the audience that weren't born on this planet. And they talk about, obviously, that Mars is inhabited. Alternative 1, 2 and 3. If people don't know what Alternative 1, 2 and 3 is, go over to our video section on OYM and check out Alternative 1, 2 and 3, because they did discuss that in the 50s and 60s, I believe, because they knew what was happening to the planet. So, and inconsistencies like our moon is the only moon that doesn't rotate. All the other moons and all the other planets rotate, but ours doesn't. Some people have the hollow moon theory. People talk about bases on the backside of the moon. There's as JP said, there could be creatures and aliens and races in inner Earth. And then you have the expanding Earth theory. So all these are all plausible. We just need to look at the information and do a bit of research and check into it. And if it resonates with you, then fine. But I'll put it off to Karen. Karen, is there anything you want to add to that?
Well, I'm becoming more skeptical too with this last here in December of 2012, and angels and I don't know anymore. The only thing I do know is that I'm here now in a physical body. Our world is in very big trouble. We are made of energy, vibration, and frequency, and it's time to take a look into what's really going on here and do something. The apocalypse, the unveiling, all the corruption. It doesn't matter really how we got here anymore. It doesn't matter where we're going. Well, it does matter where we're going, and it matters where we are. How we got here, I don't know. I don't know what to believe anymore, But I just think that more and more we've got to work here and now at creating the type of world that will serve all of us, not the few, and to understand that we could be living lives of abundance. Changing our minds will change our world. So whether or not the frequency does or will could be a bonus. But I no longer think that we have the luxury of pretending that our world is anything other than a prison planet being wrapped up rapidly all around us. And that it's time to take all the New Age movement and all of our movements and unite them to stand for freedom, to understand the power of peaceful noncompliance, to understand that we have to step into adulthood as a species and become the heroes of our own lives.
Fair enough. And Detlev, what's your take on that?
Well, you just need to basically listen to the Roswell interview of an alien. And then basically, this happened in the 60s, I guess. And, this
in
person or this being, was it? No, well, I don't know. I'm not sure. But
40s.
anyways, was it? Yeah, in the 40s, okay. But, if you listen to that, it's pretty clear. Nobody is really interested in interfering here because this is a prison planet, for human beings at least. I don't know whether there are other beings meant by that as well, I don't know. So if you believe in that, this is not a very pleasant place to stay, at least not in the third dimension. And again, there have been things happening, and I think genetically engineering, human mankind or whatever, as, your listener puts the question in there, have angels interfered with humans and so forth? Could well have been, but in the end we're all frequency. So there's no material world, really, is it, JP? You've done some research on that.
Yeah, well, it's always more complicated than just with vibration, because it's like a coil that has been coiled, and then you coil the coil, and it's coiled and coiled and coiled and coiled and coiled, and that coiling produces a gravitational effect that appears to create a particle. But it's really just kind of energy spiraling around inside itself. So everything in the galaxy, we see the galaxies, we see solar systems, and the same principle is going on. Something's in the middle moving, and everything else is being schlepped behind it. And so that's what's going on in the solar system, and that's what happens in philosophical thought. In politics, and you get these leaders, and innovation happens, and then materialization happens through the stages of manifestation. Everything starts with a thought, and has to go through a particular process before it gets down to the physical plane, and it's always to do with frequencies. If you want to build a house, you have to put brick upon brick upon brick. You get into a rhythm. You build the house brick by brick by brick, and that's how everything works. Everything's built, one step at a time from the inside out, and that's beautiful. Yeah, that's nature.
Yeah, this is a nice. Actually, this is a nice description of living in a prison. Because, if your frequency is not free to move wherever it wants, then it is kept in prison. So maybe
That's
the
right.
third dimension description would be we are living in a prison. So and if we are, moving our frequency up, we are losing our solidity. I mean, our materialism.
I just had a thought about that.
Yeah.
Is that we're living in a prison, and the prison is money. Because without money, you can't do anything. So therefore, money equals freedom. The more money you have, the more freedom you have. Isn't that the way?
Well, not really, because even if you have money, you're not really free because you're still in the third dimension.
Well, yes, but I mean, in
physically,
terms of
physically.
Freedom, physical freedom. Ability to move around as you will. I want to go to the cinema today. I want to go to the pub. I want to have a drink. I want to go to a restaurant. So money gives you that ability. I'm sorry, you all broke up, Karen.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just was thinking, yes, it does. Money just gives you more options, but it's also the sense, it's also the bartering system that has imprisoned us. So I agree with you on that.
All right. So now, having determined, because money is the bars that hold us in, and in order to move to the fourth dimension, you have to then, so let me explain what I mean by the fourth dimension, and then we can move it on, because from the esoteric teachings that I've been working from and the 7 rays, it's all about states of consciousness and the way you perceive things and the way you look at things. By remaining in the what we call the third dimension, which is like the plane of physicality, and then there's the plane of emotions, and then we have the plane of the mind, and they what seem to correspond in this model with third, fourth, and fifth dimension. So we're currently moving in the plane of emotions. And certainly there's an awful lot of emotion going on at the moment. There's wars, and there's earthquakes, and there's suffering, and there's depression, and there's torture, and all of these things, and there's anger and about the torture, and anger about the GMOs, and anger about this, and anger about the banks, and anger, there's a lot of emotion that's going on. And there's going to be a lot more as the people find out what's going on with the government. And what they think was government, and what they trusted was government, but turns out to be a bunch of corporations, turns out to be a bunch of criminal organizations and mafias, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we're getting to a point when we're realizing that. So in a way, we've been sitting in the theater as audience. That's the third dimension. When we're now uncovering what's going on, we're now able to walk around the stage and see the lights and see the trapdoors and see the curtains and the ropes and all the ways of concealing and hiding. And we're seeing what the actors really look like when they walk off stage. They're not smiling anymore, and they've got a predatory leer on them. And then we're then able to move further back and observe the whole process going, and remain in a position of allowing that to happen for prime directive reasons, because at some point we will have to observe the prime directive, and that prime directive is basically be harmless. It's the same as what the Buddha has always been saying. Be harmless. Don't cause any more karma. Your problem is you're flailing around producing more and more mess that you have to clear up later. That's what karma is. So just be harmless and create a new world. And so so then when you get to the mental plane, you're beyond the emotional tie, which is the thing that we call money. We're beyond belief systems, because belief systems occur in the fourth dimension. We've been subject to them, and we've also been prevented from moving out of it by the belief systems themselves. It's like, if you leave this place, you're going to die. No, it's not true. You can step outside the door. It's like that Truman film. Bang. They keep saying, you're going to die. You're going to, the storm's getting worse and worse and worse. And he keeps going through the storm until he finds the ladder and the doorway out. And that's what we all need to do. We all need to go beyond what we perceive to be the limits of our reality. And that may involve saying, well, I'm not going to pay my mortgage anymore. See what they do. And then other people say, oh, no, they're going to repossess your house. Yeah, but if 20 million people all decided they weren't going to pay their mortgages anymore, who's going to pay the people who are going to try and turf them out of their houses?
There you go, JP. That's what I'm talking about.
That's exactly it. Well,
at the same time.
That's
why at least the 15th is one day. You know, if we all did it at the same time and if we extended it, now that's where I do believe that we can change our world and people can wake up, because bills aren't worth being paid when people are being thrown out in the streets, and it's just a bunch of horse crap that honors the few at the expense of the many. It's not freedom now, but we can change it. Sorry, I just had to jump in.
That's okay. That's what we need to do. Okay, guys. Well, listen, we've come to the end there, so I'd like to say a big thank you. Oh, we have a question from Steve. Anyone?
Yeah, well, you don't have a question from me. We have a question from Andy, and he wants to know: can you ask JP what a translucent Earth is? Does it mean we will all be able to see under Australia? LOL.
I haven't said anything about a translucent Earth myself. I've been thinking about this stuff, actually, talking about translucent. It's totally off topic, but this stuff, I can't remember what it's called. It's like something like aerogel, and it's the lightest material known to man. It's like, lighter than soap bubbles. And it's see-through and it's translucent. It's rather beautiful. Aerogel, check it out. It's a modern material.
We've actually heard of that. Yeah, I mean that was in the news. Must be about 2 years ago.
What?
Yeah,
this aerogel.
Really cool
it's. I can't remember exactly all the ins and outs of it, but it's an aerogel. You can see through it, and it's. Yeah, as JP said, it's the lightest thing you can. It's even lighter than Maltesers.
Is it? Fantastic. Okay, well, listen, we'll come to that time.
Oh, hang on.
Hang on.
I've one final question, and I've been saving this to the. He's making faces here. You moan that I don't speak enough, and now I'm speaking, and you're making faces.
Always the last few minutes of the show, though.
Right. Well, see, this question didn't fit in. Like the show was kind of flowing along nicely. This question didn't really fit in anywhere, so I was kind of saving it to the end, because it's a road that we're going to be hopefully going down in the very near future here in the Republic of Ireland, and that is with direct democracy. So we do have a question from one of our listeners, Firebrand, and he's wondering if maybe, Detlev, you could give us an insight into direct democracy, seeing as you actually have it over there in Switzerland.
Oh, thank you for this last sequence here. I posted actually a reply in the chat room already, but I can repeat it from my point of view. Okay, I can only put it from my point of view. I'm not Swiss. I'm a German living in Switzerland, but from my point of view, this is a nice thing to have a shiny thing. Shiny armor, but I think basically it's an illusion, because all the important questions, all the important issues nowadays are not being ruled by the people. They are ruled behind the curtains, and I think Karen put it nicely, in the bank ground. That's where it happens, because Switzerland is it's the country of the banksters, isn't it? So how could you expect, the people, even poor people, could have a vote? Yeah, on not so important issues, surely, yes. But on the important ones, for instance, they've never been asked to link the Swiss franc to Europe, to the euro in the eurozone. They've never been asked. Or if they would, like to get rid of gold as a backing for their currency, they never were asked. It was just done, right? So I don't know whether those were important questions, but I would think so. So it's, it's a matter of looking at it. And my attitude is to look at it pretty critically, and I would say it's an illusion.
Yeah, the only reason I think that question was asked, Detlev, is because we have a guy here, if you may have to look him up on YouTube, is Ben Gilroy. But Ben was basically stopping people from being evicted from their homes. He was he was kind of standing there with the people who were about to be evicted, and he was quoting the Irish Constitution, which it prevented it from happening. It basically prevented the people from being evicted. And Ben, there's a party over here, Direct Democracy. They have been gaining ground and support. And recently, Ben Gilroy was asked, would he front the organisation? Would he, be the head man? And as much as he said himself, he's not into politics. He's not really that concerned about politics. He just knows it's all corrupt. He doesn't want to add to the corruption. Excuse me, but he did say that on the evening when the Irish government agreed to the bank bailout, he said if Direct Democracy had been in place, then maybe obviously the Irish government at that point would have said to Angela Merkel and her cohorts, okay, well listen, thanks for your suggestion. We're going to have to put it to the people, put it to a referendum, and if the people go for it, happy days. If the people don't, well, I'm sorry, we won't be bailing out the banks. And I think that's kind of basically probably the reason behind the question of direct democracy, because we obviously the situation we find ourselves in here in Ireland at the moment, it looks like it's a bottomless pit, and it's just kind of dire, dreary and dismal. But we're kind of seeing direct democracy as hopefully, something that will kind of get us out of that pit. It looks like a breath of fresh air. So I mean, we hope it will work if Direct Democracy Ireland do get into power.
Yeah, sure, but on the other hand, you always have to watch the top of the pyramid, and if you have a pyramid structure, right, then there's always the danger of somebody taking this over and turning it against you. So that's be careful.
We did mention this to Ben, and obviously I'm sure he's aware of it. He's not a spring chicken, and I mean that in a nice way. He does have experience, and so I'm sure he's well aware of it, and I'm sure it's been mentioned to him more than once with these TDs or these politicians who actually leave the current government parties and want to join up DDI because they can see that that's where people are going. So it's self-interest again, but I'm sure he's aware of that. But listen, guys, thanks for coming on. We've only 8 minutes left there, so let me quickly pop over to Karen, and we'll go through your bits and pieces there, Karen, if you can just tell us website addresses and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, my bits and pieces, I'm glad you clarified. I wasn't sure what you were talking about. Well, I hope that everybody stays tuned because, Alan, you've done some great work there helping us to update the website. And as soon as GoDaddy gets around to it, the not so on the GoDaddy.
No, Daddy.
Slow Daddy.
Slow Daddy.
Once they get around to changing it, you'll see Alan's great handiwork, and we've also got a chat room over there that's exactly the same. And it's United We Strike, United We Win, and I just really do want to plant the seeds of, peaceful noncompliance all at the same time. And to me, it's one of the very few ways we have left of asserting our greater numbers and doing what we can to try and change things around. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to have made it through the year. I'm very grateful for your help and for Detlef's help all these years, and for JP as well. And at the beginning of the year, the help with the 3-day peace train. And, thank you very much for putting up with that. I was insane. 3 days of the marathon was really crazy. But I like the mini-thons now, and I hope that folks start to think about standing with us in solidarity on the 15th and tuning into the broadcast the second Saturday of each month. They're kind of mini-thons now. We'd like to tie in as many different stations and hosts as possible. We've got the station, we've got the airwaves. Just need some volunteers, and we can make it a place where we can connect and get the word out. It'd be great to see United We Strike and United We Win evolve to the place where when it's happening and you need to get the news out here, we've got these different people coming to you live. So we'll see where we go. And I want to thank you very much for being friends of mine. I appreciate this. I appreciate being on here. Thanks to all the listeners, and Merry Christmas.
Cheers, Karen. Thanks for that, and we appreciate you coming on there. JP?
Well, I'd just like to pass Dave Corso's wish for you to have a happy Christmas, and that's to all you crew there. And Dave Corso is the owner of WSR Radio, and he was part of the 3-day thing back then. And so my station, my website is wowwowwow.everbeyond.info. That's for my personal show, and I appear on wowwowwow.wolfspiritradio.com, and that's most of the time. And then on Tuesdays, I'm also on freedomslips.com. with Revolution Radio. So those are the radio stations. But you can find me. I'm on Facebook as JP, and what else? The world will not end, but we will change our ways of looking at it. I think that's the best way of looking at the whole thing.
I think you're right there. And Detlev.
Yeah, thanks, Alan, and everybody else. You're all great guys and girls. And thank you all. And I have German shows going on every Tuesday and Thursdays from 4 to 6 p.m. Central European Time, in German though. And I'm also part of the marathon. Usually I start the marathon for United We Strike, and the next one is January the 12th, 2013. Right, and my website is awakenews.net. I also have lots of information in English, but you have to look for it. Most often it's in German. I also have lots of blogs and video channels and so forth, so you'll find your way around if you're interested. I know the NSA is there frequently, and MI6 and MI5, as well as all the German-speaking, societies and so forth. So,
brilliant.
Happy to see you there.
Okay, Detlev, that's fantastic. Listen, guys, just stay there for a minute. Myself and Steve are just going to round things up there. You just hang on there for a minute for us, will you? And we'll be back with you in a minute. Okay, just like to say, we've got 4 minutes left, and there was a couple of things I was going to talk about there, but we'd just like to say, for myself anyway, we wish everybody a happy Christmas and a new year, and enjoy yourself, go mad. Have a few drinks, but don't go overboard. And next week we're going to have Ian or Crane on. So that's going to be interesting. We'll catch up with Ian on a few things. If there's any news that you come across, by all means, email it into us. And if you can afford any couple of euros, it'd be fantastic to reach the target for the bumper stickers and get them out there, or click on the adverts on the website if you're attracted to them, if you like them, and we get a few cents for them as well. Steve?
Yes, I think you're spot on. Happy Christmas to all the listeners. Obviously, the show would be nothing without you. If it wasn't for the listeners listening and tuning in every week, it would be just Alan and I sitting here talking amongst ourselves, looking silly with headphones on us and microphones in front of us. But thanks to everyone who's been part of OYM for the past 12 months. And do have a happy, peaceful, safe Christmas, and with a bit of luck we'll do it all again next week, and we'll be in 2013. No, we won't. What the hell?
You're sorry. This daddy bit is really like doing you. Sorry. I think
okay.
You're losing track of the days.
This time next week we'll still be in 2012. Oh no. Oh well.
You'd be still in 2012. Well, we'd near enough, we'd be near enough into 2013. Let's hope that 2013 is going to be a better year. But we will touch base with Ian Crane and see what he thinks of all of 2012, and see what he thinks what's going to happen in 2013. I think, let's see what happens.
I think a lot of people, as you said, will probably end up with egg in their face because nothing really happened when the 21st of the 12th came along. Nothing happened. I think everyone who does end up with egg in their face, don't take it too personally. But I think we still have to remain positive, because we still have to keep the vibration up anyway. So I mean, because nothing happened, maybe there might be a little dip in the vibration, but we need to just kind of keep that vibration up for all of our sakes. And if you want a little more of the same, or some more to continue on from, say, what we're talking about, tune in to tnsradio.ning.com, where Vin, the man with the golden voice, he's going to be on there. I've contacted Vin. He doesn't actually have anyone lined up with him at the moment, so it'll just be Vin unplugged, at 9 p.m. GMT.
Okay, no problem. Listen, take care of yourself. Have a great Christmas. This is Alan James. We'll talk to you next week. Take care.
And same for me, Stephen George. Well, take care. Bye-bye.
Open your mind.